Jacques Reland is a senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute, and he joins us now live from Paris. Good to see you, Jacques. We are, 6 days away from Christmas. Will there be any lights on those Christmas trees? I mean, will the power cuts and all the problems continue in France over Christmas?
That's the big question. And this question is maybe being solved at the moment. At the moment, there is a meeting between union leaders and the Prime Minister again. And the Prime Minister is expected to make some announcements after. And we'll see whether it made enough concessions to calm down some of the most constructive unions, because some unions are in favor of that reform, but not of all aspects of it, and whether the radically opposed unions will keep on their actions, because you don't need that many people to sometimes have that many strikers to sometimes have very disruptive influence on French transport and French energy distribution.
And Jacques, the president, he said he hopes to have progress by the end of this week. How hopeful are you?
It's very difficult to make a judgment. We'll see. We'll know more in a few hours the reaction of the unions. It's very. I think that there will be a slight improvement. I'm pretty sure that there will be enough concessions, and the main concession will turn around the issue of the pivot age, which is firmly opposed by the CFDT. The pivot age is a way of raising retirement age in France without raising the retirement age, if you see what I mean. I.e., the legal retirement age remain at 62, but if you retire before 62, you will get a decrease of 5% decrease in your pension, and if you retire after 64, you will get a bonus, a 5% bonus on your pension. And that's something that the government introduced in order to balance the books in the medium term. And that has actually muddied the waters, because you have two reforms at the same time. One is the reform of the system, structural reforms, backed by the French people, backed by the main union, the CFDT, and the issue of balancing the books through progressive, a gradual raising of the retirement age, which is actually worrying very much the CFDT union and the French population.
And talk to me about the French population and their enthusiasm and support for these strikes, because according to a poll, 62% of the public still support these strikes, and apparently that number has gone up since the beginning of the strikes. Do you agree with the poll? Is that what you're feeling in France?
I don't know when your poll is dated, but I heard yesterday a figure which was slightly lower, saying, but it's still 50-50. Still, half the population supports the strike, and the reason is because everyone is mistrustful of the government. This reform has been half-baked. It's been negotiated for 18 months. The main negotiator of the reform had to resign 2 days ago because he had a job alongside his ministerial job, which is not allowed in France, which is a bad sign. And at the same time, what did I say? This issue is fear-inducing because it was hazy, the reform. So people fear the worst. The government is now trying to calm down the fears of the people. They put online today a simulator which is meant to show how much you will get with your new pension as opposed to how much you would get with the current scheme. And the government is trying to there's a few issues which are key. For example, it's a point-based system. The main issue is to say who will set the value of the point. Can the point increase? And the government is probably ready to make concessions on the line that the point will be set by the unions who control the pension system in France. Okay. But it has to be approved by Parliament. So there are fears, but the government, its lack of the problem is mostly due to the lack of clarity in the communication of a government when you consider that over 60% of people were in favor of the reform, but it's been so hazy that it has created anxiety, and that's hence the support of the people for the unions. And they know that by supporting them, the unions will get greater concessions from the government. So I expect we'll get a deal eventually, but it will be very costly for public finances.
And Jacques, what is all of this doing to the popularity of Emmanuel Macron and his governments in general?
Strangely enough, it has contributed to a small rise in his popularity, to a hardening of his support, especially among the right-wing electorate. A lot of his electorate consists half left-wing, half right-wing, but his policies of late have been approved more by the right-wing, by the people, by the French people who feel on the right than people on the left. In his effort to modernize the system, they approve the reform totally because they think it will make it sustainable in the future, and it is more suited to the new forms of the labor market where people don't keep their jobs in the same company all their life, and they don't have to navigate between the 40 schemes that exist in France. So the center-right electorate backs Macron more now at the middle of the strike because he's trying to hold firm than the left. So he's gained a few points, and he's got support about a third of the French population, which for a French president is not bad, especially at a time of social conflict like today.
All right, Jacques Reland, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.